Eek. That wasn't creepy at all. So, if you watched yesterday's video, which you should have, you're like, wow, Mr. H is in the same clothes. I am. It's because I'm still doing the video on the same. It's all right. So this is the last day. You have a quiz on Friday. So you should be watching this on Thursday, I think. Oh man, I've got a 20-page sub-plan for next week. So let's see, which day are you watching this? Let's see, that's Friday. You're taking a quiz on Friday, good. Yeah, you're watching this on Thursday. I hope. Oh man. You're watching this at some point next week before the quiz. This is not on the quiz, okay? What we're doing today is not on the quiz, but it will be helpful for Module 2, I promise you, because on Monday we will do Lesson 17 back into Module 2 and Topic C. We have Lesson 17, Lesson 18, Lesson 19, I think Lesson 21, 22, but we're going to be testing one more test before Thanksgiving. So you have a quiz on Friday or tomorrow or whichever day that is, but multi-step equations. I'm going to review a little bit of everything. So first, if I give you 3x minus 7 plus 2x and say simplify. Simplify means combine like terms. So when I look at this, I've got 3 xylophones, I've got positive 2 xylophones. If I combine xylophones, I stick with xylophones. 3 plus 2 is 5 xylophones. I then say, hey, wait a minute, I didn't touch this constant of negative 7. It comes straight on down. I cannot combine xylophones with constants. So there's my simplification. Relatively easy. We did that last week on Tuesday. Then we said, okay, let's distribute. Well, let's say we've got a negative 3, 5x plus 2. Actually, let's make that a minus 2. So now I'm taking this negative 3. Distribute means take whatever directly in front of the parenthesis, the term and the sign, and multiply it to everything in the grouping symbol. So negative 3, and I multiply. So negative 3 times 5 is negative 15, but they're xylophones. Negative 3 multiplied not just to the 2, but to a negative 2. So that's negative multiplied by a negative, which is positive. That gives me a positive 6. I cannot combine my coefficient and variable with my constant, so we're done. Still easy. So that's distributing, that's combining like terms. Then we started solving one-step equations, like 5x equals 35. We found the balance point. We make our inverse operation line. We divide by 5, because that's the inverse operation. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 1 what? 1x, because the goal of any equation is to isolate the variable and have one of them. 35 divided by 5 is 7. Boom. One-step equation. Well, what about two-step equations, which we spent a couple days on now? Well, let's say we've got 3 minus 5x equals 33. The steps stay the same. We find our balance point, we use our inverse operation line. The constant must get moved first. The constant in this case is positive 3 because that's a coefficient. It's positive 3, so the inverse is subtract 3. 3 minus 3 is 0, which leaves me all of this negative 5x. And notice how I boxed in the sign and the term. That comes on down. So that's negative 5x equals 30. Divide by negative 5. That leaves me with x equals negative 6. So now we have done everything that will be on your quiz tomorrow. Combining like terms, distributing, one-step equations, two-step equations. Your warm-up from today will be very similar to your quiz. Basic. So, what are multi-step equations? Well, it's anything more than a two-step equation. So if it takes more than if it takes more than 2 steps, it's a multi-step equation. What are we going to deal with just today is just distributing. So, let's say I've got 3. X minus 4 equals 12. This is an equation. This is a multi-step equation. And here we go. The first step for us always stays the same. We find the balance point. We make our inverse operation line. Before we do any inverse operations, though, let's look at this side. There are two different ways to do this, but for convenience sake for all of you, since I'm not here, I'm only going to teach it one way. If you have trouble, come in and see me, and I will gladly help you afterwards, after Thanksgiving. So, first step, I see that I have to distribute. If I see that I have to distribute, do so. 3 multiplied by x, 3 multiplied by -4. I'm going to write this because this is an equivalent way to write this problem. 3x minus 12 equals 12. This is not changing the way that this side is. The values have stayed the same. It's just written differently, which is why I didn't have to change anything on the other side. That balance stayed the same. Well, now we're back to two-step equations. We want to isolate this variable. So here's step 1, I distributed. Step 2, we have to move the constant. The constant's -12, so we use the inverse operation. Because I'm changing this side, I have to change it on both sides. -12 plus 12 is 0, which means 3x comes down. 12 plus 12 is 24. Last step, I finish with the inverse operation of division. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 1 what? 1x. Could I write it like this and it be correct? Sure. But in math, we simplify as much as possible, so we don't put that there. And I'm left with x equals 8. Make sure you have that. Okay, I'm going to erase it. You can always go back in the video. Folks, this is it. That one example will hold through for everything else that we do. So let's go -2 4x plus 3 equals, and let's make it 8. Find the balance point. It's my equal sign, make your inverse operation line. From here, do we need to distribute? Absolutely. How do we know? There's something smack dab up against parentheses. That's how we know we're going to need to distribute. -2 multiplied by 4x is -8x. -2 multiplied by +3 is -6. I'm done. That's an equivalent expression. Equivalent means has the same value but looks different. Because it looks different doesn't mean I have to do anything to this side because it has the same values. I only do inverse operations when the values are different. So now we're doing a two-step question. I always move my constant first. My constant is -6. So I add 6. Oh, this isn't going to work. Let's make this a 10. So you're going to have to erase. Mr. H's brain's running a little bit sluggish. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. So go back, change the original to a 10. Nothing else that we did changes the problem, I promise. It's just going to make sure that we don't end up with a decimal. So now I'm going to add 6 to both sides. That leaves me with 16. -6 plus 6 is 0. I don't have to write that. But I need to drop down not just 8x, but a -8x. From here, the last step is either multiply or divide. We are going to divide by -8. Because a negative divided by a negative is positive. 16 divided by -8 is -2. Hopefully, you're starting to see, oh, okay, I distribute, then it's a two-step equation. And you've done a couple days of two-step equations. So you're going to try this one on your own. Hopefully, I can make it work the right way first time. Let's go 10 equals -5x plus 5. Okay, so once you write it down, go ahead and pause it. Give it a try. So hopefully you've solved it at this point. You're unpause it, you're watching, you're saying, okay, I know that I need to distribute. But before we do that, find the balance point, draw the inverse operation line. If you don't like it this way, where everything's on one side, because most of the time, everything's going to be on the left side. And when I say everything, our variable will be on the left side. I don't care if you rewrite it. I personally wouldn't. I would just keep it like this, but you can. You can do either. So now I'm here. I'm going to distribute. How do I know I need to distribute? I've got a number smack dab up against my parentheses. I box in my -5, the sign and the number, and I multiply. -5 times x is -5x. -5 times +5 is -25. That leaves me -5x minus 25. Now we're back to a two-step equation. We move the constant. We're trying to isolate the variable, so we're trying to get everything else to be 0 or 1. Well, in this case, it's -25. I add 25. That changes this balance. I've added 25 pounds to this side, so I've got to add 25 pounds to the other side of the scale. -5x comes down. That leaves me with 35. Divide both sides by -5. Negative divided by a negative is positive. 5 divided by 5 is 1x. 35 divided by -5 is -7. Again, I can rewrite this as x equals -7. I prefer my variable first, but if you give me this, that's also all well and good. So this will not be on your quiz, but this will be a huge portion, on your upcoming test, which probably won't happen until the Friday or the Monday before Thanksgiving. Okay, kiddos. Your homework will be given to you by the sub or Mrs. Armstrong. I don't actually know what the worksheet is called because it didn't print off for me today, so that's what I'll be doing now. Thank you. Have a good one.